Anyways. What's up guys, it's Kayla
and Jim,
and welcome back to another Meteorology Monday. So, what are we talking about today?
we are talking about an event that occurred recently, typically happens here in the fall, out west, and that is Santa Ana winds.
Santa Ana winds! So, if you live in the California area, specifically the Southern California area, this definitely applies to you. If you don't live in those areas, then you'll learn something new today.
That's right. So, we're going to talk about a few things about Santa Ana winds, what conditions are necessary to set it up, and what happens when they actually occur. Let's dive into it a little bit.
Let's get right into it.
So Santa Ana winds, as some of you may not know, usually are the strong winds associated with certain weather set up out in the west. Usually you hear a lot about Santa Ana winds when you hear a lot of fires out in California, and there's a lot of strong wind that's fueling the flames and pushing them really fast in one direction, usually pushing them toward the coastline. But we're going to talk about today how that gets all set up, and
Yep.
I don't know what else I was going to say. So, setup. How does it get set up weather-wise? Most of the time, these get set up with a strong high-pressure system over the Great Basin area, which is Nevada, Utah, northern Arizona, somewhere in there.
All of that deserty area that nobody really lives in.
That's right. And so when you have a strong high-pressure system that's there, and usually there is a somewhat of a low-pressure system off the Southern California coast, right along the California, the U.S.-Mexico border. It's kind of off there somewhere. So the difference between the high pressure over the Great Basin, the low pressure out over the ocean, the pressure differences cause the winds to start picking up. And because of the clockwise rotation around the high, counterclockwise around the low, the wind flows from northeast to southwest or easterly to westerly, and as they move through, they're going from higher terrain to low terrain down to sea level. So there's a number of processes that occur because of that. And what are some of the processes that occur?
One thing that's interesting about these winds is normally in the US you hear about winds going from west to east, but in this case we're actually getting winds going from east to west and from high ground to low ground, which means that you have air being, channeled through valleys and down mountains, and it's gaining all this speed. And in less technically terms, wind up high, wind go down, wind go fast. But in more technical terms, Dad's gonna hit you with some thermodynamics because I'd forgotten that stuff.
So there's a few things that are going on here. So number one, the air originating over the Great Basin, is going to be cooler and it has a certain amount of relative humidity. Well, as it's coming out of the Great Basin and it's getting funneled through the canyon areas and it's descending, air actually descends, and when it descends, it actually warms at a certain rate. So not only is the air warming up, it's also drying out. So it's keeping the same moisture content, but as you raise the temperature, the relative humidity decreases. So as you're going from higher down to lower, there you go. Temperature is increasing and relative humidity is decreasing.
So these winds coming out of the Great Basin area are getting hotter and they're getting drier. And then they're gonna blow right over dry, sunny Southern California, where there are a lot of fires. You can see how these probably don't mix, right?
That's right. So if a fire gets started in one of those canyon areas or on one of the ridge tops, you're gonna have the winds that actually are starting to get funneled in, the difference between the high pressure and the low pressure, along with the drier air, so it causes the fires to actually ignite and get stronger, and then the winds get stronger and it pushes those fires toward the coastline, and it just becomes a big, huge mess out there.
Huge mess.
And trying to fight those fires is really difficult because it is
Yeah.
remote in
Yeah.
a lot of areas. There are some homes and other areas out there that, you know, are built up, but most of the time they usually start in more remote areas, which it's harder for the firefighters to get in there. They do have a lot of good equipment. I know when I worked for the Weather Service out in Oregon back in the day, I did go out on a firefighting, one of the missions out there. It was a huge fire back in the day, and you know, I remember doing the forecast with the lead forecaster, and we were talking to all the emergency management personnel and all the firefighters and trying to give a forecast when the winds would switch around, so on and so forth. So it's a huge operation and a huge undertaking to try to take care of this. Not to mention try to get it as soon as you can, because especially in a Santa Ana condition, it's going to ignite and it's going to move fast. So you want to try to get to it as soon as you can.
Yeah, it's not like it's not like rain where it just passes and in an hour it's over. And you have these huge pressure systems lined up. It takes a while for those to move across and out of the way so that they're not fighting each other and sending winds this way. So yeah, it's a little bit lengthier of a process, and it's definitely hard for the firefighters to get in there in time to stop us. That's why you see these fires will rage on for months and months and months, and I think we're still talking about California having some fires in recent weeks.
Yeah,
so.
in the past few weeks we've had fires igniting and them really getting out of control and burning. So it takes a while. Once they get going, it takes a while, because not only are the weather conditions right and the winds are kicking up, there's only so much that you can do from a firefighting standpoint. Usually you have planes or helicopters dropping flame retardant or water. So you got to get the water, you got to get the flame retardant, you got to get it to that area, you got to drop it, you got to make sure that when you start dropping it, the wind doesn't blow it.
Yeah, because the winds will just blow it off into the ocean. That's not helpful.
You want to blow it, you know, you don't want to blow over all the firefighters that are on the ridge lines trying to get to the fire. They have to create fire breaks. It's really hard to create a fire break on a mountainside, you know, when it's heavily forested. They've got all sorts of ways to be able to do things, but it's not easy trucking in with all their equipment. It takes a while to do what they do. I really had a great appreciation when I was out in Oregon a number of years ago, seeing what they do, and it's just amazing.
So now that we've been talking about the Santa Ana winds, let's show you some actual videos of what it looks like.
We can have some Santa Anas that have winds gusting over 100 miles per hour.
These winds originate from high pressure over the Great Basin with low pressure off the coast. Winds flow from high pressure to low pressure, and the stronger the gradient or pressure difference between the two, the stronger the winds can be. As the winds get closer to sea level, they speed up, dry out, and heat the air.
It can actually warm on a rate of almost 30 degrees Fahrenheit per mile.
And there you have it, the Santa Ana winds. The
Santa winds.
you know, winds 101 for everybody who hasn't lived in California. But if you live in California, you probably know all this stuff already.
And if you do, and you have experienced Santa Ana winds, or even if you don't live in California but you've moved from there, if you have experienced it, go ahead and comment below. Tell us about your experiences.
And that'll do it for the video today. So if you like what you saw, as always, hit that like button and the subscribe button so you never miss another Meteorology Monday.
You can also go ahead and visit us out on our other social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, are popping up right here. And you can also check out our Patreon page as well as our Meteotech Weather website.
Exactly.
All the links
will be below.
That's right.
Until next time, I'm Kayla.
And I'm Jim.
Thanks for watching.
And happy adiabatic compression warming.
Yep.
plunging in.
No, that's me drowning in all of this information.